Hi, my name's Tim, Recovery Coach Tim. This is a short video on what I call your family tree. This is primarily a tool for kind of an introduction to yourself, but it also is I use it as an explanation for where some of your character defects, personalities, styles, images, even addictions come from. Ernie Larson used to have a saying that I really liked, is what you live you learn, what you learn you practice, and what you practice you become. I like to add to it, what you practice you get good at, and what you get good at has consequences. So most people that study us think that our personalities or our attitude towards the world or our attitude towards ourselves, which I call the spirituality base, is set in us primarily by the time we're 6 years old, 5 or 6 years old. So that's why it's important to go through this. I've studied the different images and styles and so forth. This is the form that you'll find on my website, and this is a drop-down box. You go in and it'll give you a way of identifying the styles, images, and addictions for a brother, a sister, yourself, mom, dad, grandfather, grandmother, kind of a thing. So it's just kind of a snapshot of that. And I've also found that when you go through this, you fill it out, a lot of people don't know for sure a lot of things from grandfathers or maybe even brothers and sisters or other things because of the life, the family situation. And I found in this exercise, first of all, it's not to be shown for anything. It's not show it to anybody. It's not to be used for anything other than for an introduction to yourself. But I've found that if you don't know for sure about somebody that's in your family that's on this list, I found out that if you just guess, you're going to be very, very accurate, maybe in the 80–90% range. So, but the whole thing is really a goal of introduction to yourself. A lot of our characterizations, a lot of our character defects, a lot of the ways we look at the world were presented to us in what we call our family of origin, and looking through your family tree is how that works. So I want to take a minute or so to explain some of the dynamics that go on, and to do that I want to use a kind of a typical, what you would call a sample, addicted kind of family. And that's just for generalizations. Let's say that the guy, the man, the male, is the addict, and let's just make him an alcoholic, just drinks, even though it's real hard to find a real alcoholic anymore. But let's just say that's what brings stress to the family. He drinks medicinally, he drinks to function, he drinks to feel better. And of course, the first thing that an alcoholic or drinker has to do is find their designated enabler, their caretaker, their co-addict. This usually is somebody that's what we would call codependent. It's usually somebody that needs somebody to be needy, and an addict, of course, is needy, and that's a good fit. So that's how we put this first couple together. And let's just use the male as an addict and the female as the codependent enabler. Okay, but even though you know that that's just a sample. So I call the addict and co-addict, and of course it could be male and female, either way switch, but let's just say that they get married, it works. A lot of people use their addiction to recruit. They use their addiction to make people feel safe. We call it better living through chemistry. Candy's dandy, but liquor's quicker. And there's lots of relationships, lots of vulnerability that is dealt with some form of medication, and usually alcohol or socially acceptable drugs, even though that's not the case. But let's say they get married. They're working, doing the job, doing the thing, raising a family, and there's a child that comes along in this. And this first child comes into the situation and instinctively they know that there's something wrong because there's a lot of negative energy, there's a lot of power, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of back and forth, scorekeeping and so forth that goes between an addict and a co-addict. And in many times, and most of the time, that a child is put in that situation, it's very important that the family stay together for them to survive because they know they're vulnerable, they know they're small, they know they're little. And so they will make a conclusion based on their evidence. Now, they don't do this logical, they kind of do it through a evolutionary kind of thing. They just look at their circumstances and they adjust accordingly. But that person will basically make the decision that there's a lot of problems, a lot of pain going on in this family. It's not going to be me. There's a problem in this family, but it's not going to be me. And so they will take on the assignment or the role, and we call them the hero. And this is the person that in their mind is holding the family together for survival, for them to survive. The survival instinct is powerful, and they look at that and say, this is what I need to do to hold the family together. From the outside looking in, you can say that must be a good couple, they must be a good family. You know, they kind of fight at each other a little bit, or there's a lot of stress going on, but they must be doing well because they wouldn't have a child like this that is a hero. You know, the athlete, the cheerleader, the good student, basically, you know, those kind of things. Let's say that life goes on, and what you live, you learn, what you learn, you practice, and what you practice, you become. And then there's another child that comes along. Male or female, boy or girl, seems to be irrelevant. But another child comes into this situation. And this child, you know, understands what's going on, understands instinctively what's going on, that there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of power, and in order for this family to survive, they've got to decide what can they do to hold the family together. Because the role of hero was already taken, and they've got a jump start on that, which means they probably will be able to defend that role, then this other child coming in has a problem, has a dilemma. And what it will do, they'll go through a process, and it will look at the family and say the family has a lot of problems, the family is under stress, we do have a hero in the family that's holding it together. How am I going to hold the family together? And I'm going to hold the family together by being the problem. I am going to be the mistake. I am going to be the problem. And of course, we call that, psychologically, we call that the scapegoat. Now remember that this is from the outside in. This child didn't choose this on their own. It's not in their DNA. It's not, but it is set up because of the way they find themselves in the first 2 or 3 or 4 up to 6 years of their life. And they will hold the family together. They notice that when they're in trouble, the family comes together. Mom and dad maybe aren't speaking or talking very well, but when Johnny's having trouble at school, they come together, they sit next to each other in the principal's office, and they actually get along, they communicate because of the child. And so in a kind of a bizarre way, the scapegoat thinks it's holding the family together by being the problem and taking the focus of the family, the pain in the family, kind of the sin eater, if you will, and it's absorbing that negative information. This is the kind of stuff that I want you to go through when you fill out this form, but I also want you to go back up to your parents and back up to your grandparents and lay this all out and fill it all out, save it, print it out, if you will, or send it to me because I want to talk to you about this. The main reason I want to use this form, which is the most valuable part of it for me, and we're looking at it, that you'll see that a lot of the things that you picked up, you might think you made those choices. You might have made them, but they were probably put on you by the family needs, so forth. So that's where I come up with my saying, it's probably not your fault that you have all these character defects, but it is your responsibility to decide what you're going to do about it. It's not your fault that you have these character issues, these addictions, these lifestyle issues, these forms that you work on. But I do want you to realize that that actually puts you on the hook to decide what you're going to do about it. We call that recovery. because of the strength of your spirituality, the strength of your free will, you can say, yes, that's the way I was raised. Yes, that's the way I was taught. Yes, this is the way my instincts are. This seems to come natural. This is the easiest way for me to deal with life. But because of spirituality, I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to do something different. Now, this is what we mean by using the family of origin, family tree. And fill it out, take a look at it. If you have any questions, give me a call, and I'll help you with your details and questions. But fill it out, and if you don't know exactly what to put down, guess, and you'll be surprised. Your guesses will be very, very accurate.